Are you a business owner stuck in fear, doubt, and worry about what the marketplace will look like in the future? Then this show is for you. Strap on your seatbelt and get ready to disrupt and innovate. Here's your host, Lisa Levy.
Today on Disrupt and Innovate, I'm thrilled to welcome Jain, the CEO of IdeaScale, the world's leading innovation software company trusted by major organizations like NASA, Comcast, NASCAR, and Doctors Without Borders. He's a trailblazer in the world of innovation, guiding global organizations to leverage collective intelligence and foster transformative ideas. Nick has a unique knack for driving business transformations by creating win-win-win scenarios for all stakeholders. That means customers, employees, and shareholders. He's made an impact across different and diverse industries, including trucking, men's fashion, and now B2B software. Join us today as we dive into Nick's extraordinary journey, his insights, and his vision for the future of innovation. Nick, welcome to the conversation.
Thank you so much for having me, Lisa, and for the
Absolutely my pleasure. I would love to get started with a little bit about what makes you tick and things that you find joy and passion in. And I have heard stories that poker is an important part of your world. Why?
Sure. So what makes me tick? I love doing two things. I love building stuff and I love learning. Those are the two things that get me up every morning, right? Like in high school, I used to be I used to be an apprentice carpenter. I love building buildings. Today, I try and build companies and stuff like that. As for poker, look, I started playing poker about 2 years ago, and it kind of hit three parts of my brain in a really great way. Number one, it's competitive. So I'm super competitive in poker. It's that. Number two, it's a good poker players tend to be very mathematical, and I'm a math guy by training. I have a math physics undergraduate degree. And number three is poker forces you to make what's called risk calculated or risk adjusted decisions, which means you can do everything right in poker, but the cards could just run out poorly for you and you could lose. And I love that part of risk adjusted or risk calculated decision making, because that's how I view the world. That like no matter how perfectly you do everything, you can look both ways before crossing the street and a crazy car driver can still hit you, right? And that's true in the world of poker. That's true in the world of business. And so that's just the way my brain functions. And poker is so fun for me because it kind of hits or tweaks all three parts of my brain.
I love that. And I love the idea, right, of risk. It is a part of our personal lives, as a part of our professional lives. As the sitting CEO of a growing and scaling company, risk is a large part of what you're looking at for your business day in and day out. Can we talk a little bit about how you found your way into IdeaScale, what the company is, what it is that you're solving for, and that impact that you're looking to influence with the business?
Sure. So my career, I can break into basically two pieces. The first 10 years or so, I was on Wall Street as a professional investor in private equity and hedge funds. So I was doing multi-billion-dollar investments in big publicly listed companies or private equity deals. Learned a lot about how businesses work, as well as got to learn from some great leaders along the way. And for the last 5 or so years, I have fallen into the job of what's called a professional CEO. So either private equity firms or founders hire me to be CEO of companies that are ready for that next stage of growth. So far, I've run or co-run $100 million revenue trucking company, which had warehouses around the country, thousands of trucks going back and forth. Then a small $2 million men's shoe company. And then now for the past 2 years, I have been CEO of IdeaScale. What IdeaScale does is really cool. So we're a B2B SaaS company, which means we make software that sits on the cloud somewhere that you access via a browser, the same way you would via your Gmail or Facebook or whatever. But what our application does is it's basically a social network for ideas. So think of TikTok or Instagram, but instead of putting fancy photos from your vacation or cute cat videos or dance videos, people put in ideas and people upvote and downvote those ideas, and the algorithm plus the voting patterns help you determine which ideas are good ideas versus bad ideas. And you can see this could be really useful for large organizations, which may have 10,000 employees and millions of customers. How did they get all those great ideas from their employees or from their customers when the CEO may be 8 levels away from people who actually are frontline workers or customers? So our software solves that problem because it does three things really well. Number one, it allows you to get all those great ideas that are trapped in your ecosystem's heads that may be, really far away from the decision makers, either geographically or hierarchy wise. Number two, it helps you discern good ideas from bad ideas. Let's be honest, there are bad ideas, but you
Mhm.
need to sort through a whole bunch of bad ideas before you find those great gems. And then thirdly, once you find those great gems, it helps get those gems in front of the decision makers and helps turn those ideas into reality as
That
well.
is fabulous. And right in it, we're here to talk about disrupt and innovate. And what IdeaScale is the ideation tool that any business can use to collect and start with, because everything starts with the idea. And you were really kind in that and saying, there are some good ones, there are some bad ones. I love for people to go after the ones that are just freaking crazy. They sound stupid, they sound out of reach, but those are the ones that pique curiosity, turn on creativity inside of the organization. If there's just one person who could say, but what if, right? That idea can be the game changer. And having all of that inside in a tool where everybody has access to saying, hey, I was thinking, what about this? What a fantastic opportunity for a business, really of any size, to create what is the foundation of innovation, and it's all collecting the ideas.
Yeah, one quick thought about that. You said
Yeah.
a business of any size. And it's actually funny that you say that because our customers tend to
Okay.
be large, major organizations, right? Like the big government
Mhm.
agencies or big corporations. Um, However, we realize that our software is actually pretty useful for small organizations, but they often can't pay for it. So we actually give our software away completely for free for teams or organizations less than 100. So if you're an individual entrepreneur, you're a 10-person construction company, or you are a team of 99 people in a huge corporation, our software is completely for free for that, because we realize that innovation happens at all scales and we want to be there to support it at all
That
scales.
is absolutely fabulous, and you're right. You are truly. I read it, in your intro. You're working with NASA and Doctors Without Borders and large NASCAR, right? These are large entities, and communicating across the size of an enterprise is challenging. But I have a fundamental belief, and I know that in your experience, you've talked about, with the shoe company, it was a $2 million business, right? That if we learned at the very beginning of a business how to continuously innovate and capture and create and nurture our ideas, that makes growth and scale over time easier. And so understanding that IdeaScale was designed for an enterprise type organization, but that you're solving for and supporting smaller entities, is a fabulous way to give uh, to the business community, because right, the small businesses are the largest percentage of our economy, and the ones that are often overlooked because
Mm-hmm.
they don't have the money to get to the tools to support the consultants who help them do this kind of work. Right, you've worn many of those hats
No,
as
part of our
I
mission
went
statement.
through that list of
Yeah.
things. Right,
Yeah. We're obviously a private sector business. We're trying to make money, make profits, but we have a mission statement that we want to be support innovation throughout the world. And if we really believe that mission statement, which we do, we have to be able to willing to kind of enable others to access our software who can't afford enterprise grade software like this, right? It's We're giving basically the ability to drive a Ferrari for free to any small organization, because that's part of our core mission statement and what we believe in. We want to A, support innovation throughout the world, and B, we want to be the software that is the brains of innovation
okay,
behind the
so with
software.
that mission, talk to me a little bit about why that's so important. And especially, I think right now there's some reasons that being innovative and harnessing that inside of the business is important. But from your perspective, what are those opportunities?
Sure. So as organizations become large, innovation becomes more difficult, right? You've been Once you're large, you're already successful. That hunger kind of dies out a little bit. Once you're large, there's a lot more bureaucracy that prevents people from innovating. Um, but the reason to innovate is always there. I like to say, look, if you're not innovating, you're dying. Or another variation that is, remember, if you're not innovating, your competitors certainly are. And a classic example that we've observed really recently, I think it was last week, was what happened with Intel. After 60 years in being the S&P 500 and being, the chip company anywhere in the world, Intel inside was something we all grew up with. Intel is no longer the leading semiconductor company. In fact, it is making some really having to make some really difficult decisions because it's been surpassed. And that's despite, by the way, spending more money on R&D than their competitors. So here was a company that was spending a lot of money, a lot of resources, but just was not as innovative. And now, look, that caught up to them. It took a long time, but it caught up to them, and they're making some really difficult and draconian choices now. So innovation is important because the world is innovating constantly, right? If you're not innovating, just remember someone out there is, and that could be someone across the street or someone across the world. And that could be an individual innovating or a huge organization. So it's really important to innovate. And the way to solve your innovation problem is really three things kind of philosophically. Number one, you need the right people. Number two, you need to give them the right processes and incentives. And number three, you need to give them the right tools and technology. And the analogy is, look, if someone wants to get, if you want to get in shape, number one, you need to be internally motivated to get in shape. Number two, you need to give yourself the incentives. Don't have that chocolate bar till you've done your 30-minute workout, right? That's a great motivator to actually hit the gym. And number three, make sure you have a pair of sneakers or access to the gym. Yeah, you can get in shape running barefoot, but it's a lot easier if you have a pair of sneakers and a pair of shorts or something, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And right, the three levers I play with in everybody, right? These are the three levers we play with in business. I love to turn it into people plus processes times technology gives us growth and scale. So you have a mathematical mind. So I thought I'd throw that in for you because that's a fundamental practice that my team that we
I'm going to steal that.
I should have trademarked that one. It's a fundamental practice that we use with our clients because, right, it all starts with having the right people doing the right work and then having the tools and things to make that growth happen. When you were talking about Intel, one of the things that's so fascinating, because in your comment, right, if you're not innovating, somebody else is. Intel actually outsourced what they were most known for, right? Chip manufacturing, they stopped doing that and have outsourced that somewhere. And so their lack of innovation has actually created a huge business that does not know what it does anymore. What is Intel if they're not manufacturing chips? And I live in Phoenix where the whole shift is happening and the construction, we're watching Intel make radical changes. If you're not innovating, somebody else is. And if you pay somebody to do your innovation for you, don't be surprised when that product or service walks away. With that, talk to me a little bit about some of the impact that using IdeaScale has made for some of your customers.
Sure. So I'll give a kind of two anonymous examples, right? One is a government agency and one is a big restaurant chain. So let's start with the restaurant chain. It's a fast food chain that all of us have probably eaten at over the past year, perhaps multiple times, depending on how much you like fast food. And this restaurant chain has this entire team of professional chefs in house and food scientists that are figuring out what their next new menu item is. But they said they wanted to be a little bit more creative and said, okay, let's stop asking all these chefs and let's go ask our customers what they would love to see on our menu. So they reached out and used IdeaScale to reach out to all of their customers around the world. So anyone in the world, customer or not actually, could suggest ideas for what their new burger item or taco item or chicken sandwich or soda or ice cream could be, right? And then people around the world submitted ideas. They voted on these ideas. And then the best ideas obviously got in front of the chief science officer or the chief nutrition food officer. I forget the title. Some C-level person. And then this person had this list of 10 or 15 ideas taken from thousands that they could actually see which of these are actually possible for us to do profitably as a business, which are safe, obviously, because some ideas customers suggested are probably not safe or maybe too expensive for a fast food chain to provide. But then one of those items was actually put on the menu, and that became like a great item, a great seasonal item available to potentially hundreds of millions of people around the world. So that's a private sector example. On the public sector, because we work with a lot of public sector agencies, One of our customers is a big U.S. federal government agency that works with people who have that tries to ensure employment opportunities for people who have disabilities. Because you can imagine there's a large number of Americans who have various disabilities that prevent them from fully engaging with the workforce, which obviously has both a social impact because they can't participate as fully members of society, as an economic impact if they're not able to earn money then or get a job. So this client of ours use our software to engage with businesses, both big businesses and small businesses, and see, okay, what changes in regulations, what support programs can we do to make it easier for businesses, particularly small businesses, to hire people with disabilities? Because obviously there's a cost if someone has disabilities that you have to accommodate, but we as a society want to at least alleviate some of those costs on small businesses so they can more easily enable folks with disabilities to participate more fully in our society. So our software, I'm proud to say, powers some of those efforts by the U.S. government.
Both fabulous examples, and both great examples of reaching outside of the business, right? Getting the voice of the customer, getting the voice of a different stakeholder from a perspective of, how do we, from the public sector perspective of being able to solve and support a demographic that is capable of working but has some challenges in getting access to work. Voice of the customer is an important part, and the tool is something that you can use to get outside of the business and bring in that external
Yeah.
commentary, which is fabulous.
I just realized I gave both examples of reaching
Yeah.
outside the business, but our software actually, a lot of customers actually use it to use inside the business. I'll give one more example. It's us using our own software. So when we think about developing our software, we run a campaign using our own software where we reach out to both external people as well as internal people, so both employees or customers, and can suggest ideas on how we make our software better. So it's funny, it's very meta. We're using our software to ask people how we can improve our own software. And so this is, both employees and customers contribute, everyone votes, and then we actually take those best ideas and every week, that's what we're pushing out into our product and making small improvements as well as big improvements over time.
So
There's also a secret version of this, which only applies for employees, where we do our top secret projects inside that.
well, and that's right. That is the true catalyst of innovation, right? Those are the new products, the new services, the literally outside of the box thinking. That's fabulous. And using the example of using your own tool in house, right? You're walking the walk and talking the talk. So if it's not working for you, how would it work for your customers?
Yeah, one of my colleagues, she likes to say, drinking your own champagne. I like to add, but not getting drunk off of it.
There's so many.
Because you have to walk the walk, but you can't overhype
Yeah.
yourself, right? The good part of us using our own software, candidly, is I use my software every day. I realize, hey, this is kind of annoying. I don't like it. This is broken or it's a bug. So it means that there's continuous improvement and continuous innovation happening because we drink our own champagne, but we're not getting drunk off of it.
And the connection between innovation and continuous improvement is an important topic. And I don't know that I've spent a lot of time with the audience making that connection. But with a B2B cloud-based application system that you've built, you have the opportunity to continuously ideate, which means that you're bringing new ideas in, but it's also a focus on fixing the things that don't work. So how the platform itself is a few years old, and are you in it?
15, we've been around 15 years. We are obviously doing major updates. So it's not like a car that you maintain for 15 years. A SaaS software is beautiful because even if you've been around 50, like Gmail has been around 20 years, but Gmail today is nothing like it was, 20 years ago.
Absolutely. So, and that's that continuous development, the innovation, the improvement. What are some of the things as you're starting to look towards the future? What opportunities exist for IdeaScale to make an impact that you haven't achieved yet?
Sure. There's two vectors where we want to make impact over the next couple of years that we didn't historically. Number one is We were historically very much a North America focused company, and about 8 or 9 months ago, we started being global because we realized that the problems that we're solving are universal problems, right? The innovation problems that American companies or American governments are facing are not that different from German companies or Chinese companies or Indian companies or South African companies or Brazilian companies, right? Everyone in the world wants to innovate because that what I said earlier in this recording is that if you're not innovating, your competitors are. That's true from the other side of if you flip to, looking at some Brazilian company. So that's number one, expanding internationally to a broader array of geographies, types of organizations, etc. And then the second is expanding the type of innovation problems we solve. So our software is by far the best in class idea management platform. But there's other parts of the innovation process that our software doesn't address today that our customers, our chief innovation officers, are asking us for. So we're adding new modules. An example of this is about a year ago, we added a whiteboarding module. So you can do everything that you do on a physical whiteboard except digitally. So you can do, it's pre-idea when you're just tossing things back and forth and it's just scribbling things on a board. And then in January, in January through March, we're launching a couple new modules, the coolest of which is an AI co-pilot that does two really cool things. Number one, it comes up with its own ideas that help you achieve your organizational mission. So that's kind of cool that we're adding an AI-based creativity, kind of an AI-based autopilot. But the second piece that the AI does is it analyzes data for you. So if you think about it, it's very easy for any computer to calculate numerical things and draw graphs, right? But ideas are qualitative. How do you analyze ideas, figure out which ideas are good versus bad, identify themes? That's something that historically wasn't possible with new AI technologies. It is, and that's what our kind of the other portion of our AI module that's coming out in, I think, January, is that you'll be able to qualitatively look through your thousands of ideas and figure out themes, figure out what are good ideas versus bad ideas, figure out actually what makes a good idea. So you can actually encourage your communities to go more towards doing what creates good ideas rather than bad ideas. So you can not only get good ideas, but you can iterate the ideation process so that each iteration results in a better and better future quality of ideas.
Those are incredibly exciting, and leveraging AI as a catalyst to help generate ideas is fabulous. I'm having experiences right now using it to help us synthesize through ideas and themes and start doing that qualitative work. And it's amazing what a large language model can actually accomplish when we give it, a specific goal. Nick, if you have piqued the interest and curiosities from many listeners in the audience, what is the best way for them to learn more?
Sure. So two ways. Number one, our website is ideascale.com. I encourage people to check it out because there's two awesome things on there. Number one, our software is, again, completely free for teams less than 100 people. So check it out. Totally free software. Your data is yours. And no downloads required, entirely on the cloud. The second thing is our blog on ideascale.com is the best innovation blog on the planet. In fact, if you search innovation, Google ranks it's between us, Harvard Business Review, and Wikipedia as the best resources. That's the level of quality we've put in it. And there's no advertisements for IdeaScale. It's literally just amazing content. Secondly, if you want to get in touch with me personally, the best way is through LinkedIn. My name is Nick Jain. You see it on the screen. I respond to 100% of messages, so feel free to DM me.
Absolutely fabulous. Audience, today we've had a great conversation with Nick Jain, the CEO of IdeaScale. And the ideas that we've shared and talked about today, if you aren't innovating, somebody else is. We'll take it so far as to say, if you're not innovating for your business is probably dying. And with IdeaScale, right, we have an ideation tool that helps you, one, get the ideas, work with teams to figure out the good ideas and separate them from the bad, and then figure out in that third step what you're going to invest time and energy into, which is the fundamental first step of driving innovation. This has been a fabulous conversation. Nick, thanks for joining me. And audience, you know my rules. Don't get left behind. Join me next.
That's it for today's episode of Disrupt and Innovate. Head over to iTunes and subscribe to the show.